The shuttle glided silently through the void, leaving a faint trail of ionized gas that shimmered against the darkness. Captain Alex Rains sat in the cockpit, hands folded over his lap, eyes fixed on the small blinking screen that marked the location of the gift. For months, the galaxy had watched Earth's first diplomatic exchange with the Cleari, a civilization as ancient as they were mysterious. And now, the first gift had arrived, unannounced, unheralded yet impossible to ignore. Alex had been chosen because of his calm temperament, his reputation for making decisions under pressure, and his uncanny ability to understand things that others missed. And yet, as the shuttle descended toward the docking bay, he felt a tremor of uncertainty in his chest. There had been warnings from both human diplomats and Cleari observers. Gifts were never ordinary. They carried meaning, testing, and sometimes danger. The airlock hissed and opened. A soft, blue light flooded the cabin, and then she appeared. The being was unlike anything Alex had imagined. Her form was humanoid, slender and graceful, yet subtly alien. Her skin shimmered faintly, as if reflecting a spectrum of colors invisible to human eyes. Eyes, large and luminous, regarded him with a mix of curiosity and challenge. Her hair, or something like it, floated gently around her head as though it were suspended in water. She moved with elegance, every step measured, deliberate, purposeful. "I was a gift, human, why haven't you touched me yet?" Her voice was soft, musical, and unmistakably clear. Alex blinked, caught off guard. His mind raced to decipher the meaning behind the words. "Touched, how?" he asked, careful not to assume anything. She tilted her head, observing him as if he were a puzzle. To accept a gift is to understand it. To reject it is to deny what has been offered. Humans usually do one, then the other. You hesitate. Many humans do not understand. That is why you are here and why I am here. Observation, learning, judgment, that is the first part. He had seen advanced AI, robotic constructs, and alien bioforms before, but none had commanded presence like this. She was not just a gift, she was a living enigma. "You speak, think, and reason," he said slowly. "You're sentient." Different, he knew the galaxy expected humans to act impulsively, to claim advantage, to exploit what they were given. But he also knew that humans were clever in ways the Cleari might never predict. Patience, ingenuity, and empathy could be weapons more powerful than lasers or fleets. "I don't know what your expectations are," he said carefully. "But I will not act without understanding." Was she testing him? Were the Cleari watching? He had read every report, studied every known method of alien evaluation. This was new. This was different. "I am not here to be touched," she said suddenly, reading the hesitation in his mind. "I am here to learn, to teach, to see if you are worthy not of me but of yourselves. That is the gift's true purpose." He understood in part. Humans had always been underestimated. In every corner of the galaxy, civilizations expected them to falter, to be predictable. And yet, time and again, humans had proven resourceful, resilient, and surprising. Perhaps that was why she was here. Perhaps that was why he had been chosen. The alien extended her hand. It was delicate, almost fragile in appearance, yet there was a strength in it that made Alex hesitate. "Do not reach for me," she said. "Do not claim me, only understand me." Walls, floor, and ceiling became translucent, revealing the docking bay beyond. Shuttle crews moved, unaware of the private interaction occurring inside the cabin. Then alien technology appeared, strange devices, symbols, and holographic displays showing planets, star systems, and energy flows. Alex leaned forward, captivated. "What is all this?" "As you see, humans are small, but understanding the patterns, understanding connections, that is power. That is why gifts matter. They reveal what cannot be learned from weapons or fleets alone." The Cleari were testing humans not with force, but with trust, patience, and intellect, and humans were more capable than they expected. "You are patient," she noted. "You do not rush, you consider. Most humans would have reached out or ignored me. You hesitate. That hesitation is your strength." Every thought was being read, evaluated, catalogued. He had been trained for this, but no training could fully prepare him for a sentient, reasoning gift that could look inside his mind and judge without malice. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Why am I the one you are testing?" "Because humanity, as a whole, is capable of more than others give credit for. I am a reflection of that." "Good, that is the first step. The next will challenge you more." It was insight, patience, and the courage to act wisely when others expected foolishness. The alien studied him silently for a moment. Then she spoke, softer now, almost like a whisper, yet somehow audible in every corner of his mind. "I am more than a gift. I am a choice, and how you treat me will define how your species is seen. He felt the enormity of the responsibility. One wrong move, one misjudgment, and humans could be dismissed forever in the eyes of a galaxy that had already underestimated them. But he also felt something else, a spark of confidence. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived against predators, hostile worlds, and political machinations across the stars. And now here was a challenge unlike any other, a sentient gift, a mirror of their potential, and a test of everything they were capable of. I understand, he said finally, and I will not betray what humanity stands for. I will learn and I will act with care and wisdom. Then we begin. And as he watched her, standing calmly in the cabin, he felt something that had been rare throughout human history. A sense of awe not just for what she was, but for what humans could be. The shuttle's engines hummed softly. Stars stretched across the viewport. And the gift, the mirror of humanity's potential, waited patiently, asking the question that had no simple answer. I was a gift, human. Why haven't you touched me yet? The first lesson had begun. The shuttle remained docked in the gleaming chamber of the orbital station, yet inside, the tension was alive and almost tangible. Alex had spent hours observing the gift, noting the subtle ways she interacted with the world around her. Every gesture, every glance seemed calculated, as though the room itself had become a puzzle, and she was both the key and the test. I have watched your species for centuries, she said, moving gracefully across the cabin. Humans act with curiosity and caution in equal measure. Some are reckless, some are cautious, some are unpredictable. You are unusual. Most humans would have already made assumptions, taken risks without understanding consequences. You hesitate, you observe, you consider. That is rare human. Humans survived where others failed, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through creativity, patience, and the willingness to learn. What do you expect from me? He asked. Learning is not enough, she said, stepping closer. You must understand, observation alone will not suffice. You must solve problems, see through illusions, and make choices where others fail. That is why I am here. That is why you are here. Suddenly, the cabin shimmered again. The walls became transparent, revealing a miniature simulation, a world recreated within the shuttle as if the room itself had become a stage. Mountains rose in impossibly sharp ridges, rivers flowed in perfect channels, and strange structures dotted the landscape. This is the first trial, she said, pointing toward the simulation. A planet under siege. Its inhabitants are unable to defend themselves without guidance. You will help them, but your choices will be observed. Success is not guaranteed, failure is instructive. Rivers overflowed, buildings collapsed, and creatures fled in terror. He realized that every action he took, every decision he made would ripple across this artificial world, testing his judgment, his morality, and his understanding of consequence. I am not controlling them directly, he asked. No, she said. You will guide, advise, and intervene only when necessary. Observe carefully. Decide wisely. And remember, the galaxy expects humans to fail, prove them wrong. A cursory glance might have suggested immediate evacuation, but Alex noticed a pattern. Certain structures were reinforced, others were not. Certain paths were blocked, others open. Understanding the terrain was as important as helping the people themselves. Move the villagers to higher ground, he said slowly, analyzing options. But first, stabilize the buildings along the river. Use available materials wisely. Some structures can hold, others cannot. Prioritize lives over property. Reinforce the bridge using local resources, he instructed. Divide the villagers into teams. One secures the bridge. One moves others to safety. Time is critical. The villagers moved, obeying his strategy, and the bridge stabilized. Alex exhaled, but the trial was far from over. Farther in the simulation, a band of hostile creatures advanced toward another settlement. They were faster, stronger, and more numerous than the villagers. Conventional tactics would fail. He had to think beyond brute force. Use the terrain to your advantage, he muttered to himself. Create obstacles, funnel them, use decoys, protect the vulnerable, fight only when necessary. One by one they were contained. No lives lost, no unnecessary destruction. Alex glanced at the gift. Her expression had shifted, subtle but unmistakable. There was approval in her gaze, not for the victory itself, but for the methods he had used to achieve it. You think differently, she said softly. Not with power, not with aggression. You solve problems where others see only obstacles. That is human. That is why the galaxy cannot predict you. Yet here he was, navigating a complex moral and tactical puzzle, succeeding not through raw strength, but through insight. "Do not be complacent," she added. "Observation and action must coexist. Your species has potential, yes, but potential alone is not enough. The next trial will test understanding, not just ingenuity." He had managed this simulation, but he knew the next challenge would be more personal, more revealing. The gift was not only testing his skills, but his character, his ethics, and perhaps even his ability to understand beings unlike himself. As the simulation faded, leaving the cabin bathed in the soft blue glow of the shuttle systems, Alex realized that he was learning as much about the gift as he was about himself. Every decision, every observation, every hesitation mattered, and the galaxy was watching through her, through the tests, through the subtle threads that connected him to the greater universe. She stepped closer. "Do you understand why hesitation is a strength?" she asked. "I think so," Alex replied. "Rushing into action without thought can cause more harm than good. Pausing, observing, understanding that can save lives." Balance, patience, understanding. These were not just strategies, they were principles. They were what had allowed humanity to survive against overwhelming odds, to thrive where others assumed they would fail. And in this moment, he realized that the gift was not merely a test or a mirror. She was a teacher, showing him what it meant to wield intellect, morality, and judgment in ways the galaxy could not predict. A new alert blinked on the shuttle's console, indicating an incoming transmission from the orbital station. Alex ignored it for now. He was immersed in the lesson, in the challenge, in the understanding that this gift was more than a token or a test. She was a measure of human potential, a reflection of what humans could achieve when they combined curiosity with wisdom, patience with decisiveness, empathy with intelligence. Hours passed. Alex guided the simulation through more trials: famine, disease, political conflict, natural disasters. Each time he found solutions that were neither obvious nor expected. He balanced resources, prioritized life over material, and considered consequences that extended far beyond the immediate moment. The gift watched him, her gaze unwavering, her presence both calm and demanding. By the end of the day, Alex felt exhausted, but also exhilarated. He had faced trials that required not only intellect, but ethics and empathy. He had succeeded where brute force would have failed, using creativity and insight to guide those who could not help themselves. And in the quiet that followed, he realized that the gift was no longer just a test. She was a reflection of the potential within humanity itself. "You have done well," she said finally, her voice gentle yet firm. "Not perfect, not flawless, but with understanding. That is rare, that is human, that is why you were chosen. And the beginning of proving that humans are capable of far more than the galaxy believes. Not through power, not through aggression, but through insight, patience, and the careful balance of action and observation." The gift's eyes shimmered, reflecting a spectrum of light that seemed almost impossible. "The next trial," she said softly, "will test not only your intellect, but your understanding of life itself. Be prepared, human. The galaxy is not as simple as it seems." The shuttle drifted silently, stars stretching across the viewport. Outside, the galaxy waited, unaware of the small lessons unfolding in a tiny cabin. But Alex understood that every decision, every insight, every choice mattered. And with the gift as both challenge and teacher, humanity's potential was being measured, and slowly being revealed. And in that moment, Alex understood the truth of her opening words. "I was a gift, human, why haven't you touched me yet?" It was not a question of action or possession. It was a question of understanding, patience, and wisdom, the qualities that humans possessed in abundance if only they could be trusted to use them. Alex smiled faintly. One day he would answer that question fully. For now, he would continue to learn, continue to observe, and continue to prove that humans were more than the galaxy expected. The shuttle hung quietly in orbit above a pale blue planet, its metallic hull reflecting the distant light of the star beyond. Alex leaned back in his seat, rubbing his temples. The past trials with the gift had been taxing, yet invigorating. Each simulation, each challenge, had forced him to balance intellect, morality, and patience. But he had sensed that the next trial would not only test him, it would shake the very foundation of what he thought he knew about the galaxy, about humans, and about the gift itself. She moved silently across the cabin, her presence calm but deliberate. "You have done well," she said, her voice softer than before. "But the galaxy watches not only for capability, but for choice, and choice is more difficult than action. Are you ready for what comes next?" It will show how humans respond when confronted with decisions that have no easy answers. Alien structures and familiar human technology were intermingled, creating a chaotic tableau. The inhabitants were scrambling, trapped between collapsing buildings and advancing enemy forces. "This," she said, "is a real situation, not simulation, not pretense. You will act, guide, and intervene, but the consequences are genuine." For the first time, the gift was asking him to make choices that were not hypothetical. Lives could be lost. Actions could cause disaster. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. He studied the scene. The city was divided into sectors. Some areas had functioning defenses, while others were completely exposed. Civilians fled in panic, and small groups of aliens moved aggressively toward them. Alex realized quickly that conventional military solutions would fail. This would require human ingenuity, adaptability, and moral judgment, the very qualities the galaxy often underestimated. "Focus on the civilians first," he said. "Evacuate them through safe corridors. Use terrain and barriers to slow the attackers. Protect as many as possible without risking lives unnecessarily." The gift observed silently, her luminous eyes reflecting both scrutiny and curiosity. Hours passed, yet progress was slow. Every choice Alex made revealed another complication. Bridges collapsed under the weight of fleeing citizens, fires spread unexpectedly, and the attackers adapted to his strategies. But Alex refused to panic. He identified weak points in the attackers' formation, used natural features like hills and rivers as defensive measures, and directed the inhabitants with a combination of logic and empathy. At one point, he noticed a group of alien children trapped on a rooftop, surrounded by fire. He hesitated. There was no safe way to rescue them without risking many lives. The gift's gaze was on him, unwavering. "Do not act recklessly," she said. "Think, consider, choose." Simultaneously, he instructed others to construct temporary bridges using debris, allowing the children to climb to safety. It worked. The children were saved and no lives were lost. Alex exhaled, feeling a surge of both relief and pride, yet he knew this was only a fraction of the challenge. The gift had designed this trial to test not just intelligence, but judgment, patience, and humanity itself. As the city began to stabilize, another alert appeared on the shuttle's console. A message from the orbital station blinked insistently. Alex ignored it for the moment, focused on the task at hand. The city demanded attention, and any distraction could cost lives. Then came the twist. From the shadows of the city, a group of alien observers appeared, watching, judging, and waiting. They were the Clary's rivals, intrigued by humans' unexpected capabilities. They had underestimated him, assuming that humans would falter, act impulsively, or misuse the gift. Now they were watching, their intentions unclear. Alex realized immediately that the challenge had evolved. It was no longer just about guiding civilians. It was about proving humanity's worth in the eyes of the galaxy, demonstrating that humans could act with intelligence, restraint, and morality even when under scrutiny. "Do you see them?" the gift asked softly. "They doubted you, they assumed failure, but you have succeeded not by force but by understanding. That is human. That is why they fear what they cannot predict." Suddenly, the situation shifted again. A secondary threat emerged, an alien creature, enormous and aggressive, breaking through barricades and endangering the newly stabilized sectors. Its sheer size and speed made it nearly unstoppable. Civilians screamed and scattered. Alex had seconds to decide. "Do not attack," the gift said, her voice firm. "Use strategy. Do not kill if you can avoid it. Observe." Using his understanding of physics and environmental tactics, he directed civilians to create channels and barriers, guiding the creature toward a trap that would contain it without harm. The plan worked. The creature became trapped, disoriented but unharmed. Civilians cheered, though Alex remained focused, scanning for further threats. He realized that every success revealed new complexities, new challenges, and new opportunities for the galaxy to underestimate humans once again. The gift stepped closer, her presence calming but intense. "You have demonstrated something rare," she said. "Not only intelligence, not only creativity, but judgment. Your species does not rely solely on power. You rely on thought, morality, and insight. That is why you were chosen." And now, in the eyes of the gift and the alien observers, he had proven that humanity's potential was far greater than the galaxy assumed. Hours passed. The city stabilized further. Civilian casualties were minimal. The observers withdrew, seemingly impressed but wary. And throughout it all, the gift had watched, silent but ever-present, guiding with subtle prompts and challenges. At last, Alex allowed himself to rest. The trial was over for now. The gift moved beside him, her gaze softening. "You have done well, human. You have shown that intelligence alone is not enough. Understanding, patience, morality, these are the qualities that define your species. And each will test not only skill, but the essence of what it means to be human. You are clever, adaptable, and moral, but you must prove that consistently, even when failure seems inevitable." But they had also revealed something profound. Humanity's true strength lay not in technology or force, but in its capacity for insight, empathy, and creativity. That was what made humans unpredictable, formidable, and worthy of attention in a galaxy that often dismissed them. The shuttle drifted quietly, the stars stretching endlessly beyond the viewport. The gift's luminous eyes met his, reflecting light, curiosity, and something deeper, approval, perhaps even respect. "You are learning," she said softly. "And in learning, you are teaching. The galaxy will watch, your species will be measured, but so far you have surpassed expectations." The trials were far from over, and the stakes would only rise. But he was ready. Humans had always faced overwhelming odds, adapted, and survived. And now, with the gift as both guide and mirror, he would continue to prove that humanity's ingenuity, morality, and insight could rival the galaxy itself. The gift took a step closer, her presence calm yet commanding. "Remember this, human. The galaxy doubts you. It underestimates you. But you have shown that humans are more than expected, more than assumed, more than predicted. That is your advantage. That is your power. It will test not just your intellect, but your courage and your ability to make choices that have no perfect solution. Prepare yourself, human. The galaxy is watching. And so am I." And as the shuttle floated silently, he realized that the true measure of humanity was about to be tested. Not through simulations, not through observation alone, but through choices that could change the course of lives, civilizations, and perhaps even the galaxy itself. And in that moment, he understood the true meaning of her words. "I was a gift, human. Why haven't you touched me yet?" It was not about possession or action. It was about understanding, judgment, and the courage to act wisely in the face of impossible challenges. Alex smiled faintly, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the spark of confidence. One day, he would answer her question fully. For now, he would continue to learn, observe, and prove that humans were clever, resilient, and capable of far more than the galaxy believed. The trials continued, and the gift waited patiently, guiding, teaching, and challenging. And somewhere in the stars beyond, the galaxy watched, unprepared for the human ingenuity that was about to reshape everything they thought they knew. The shuttle's engines hummed quietly as it drifted through the cold expanse of space. Alex sat at the control panel, eyes scanning the readouts, muscles tense. The previous trials had tested intellect, morality, and judgment, but now the gift's tone suggested something far more dangerous. Her trials were no longer just about observation or simulations. They were becoming real. "Something is coming," she said softly, her voice echoing in the cabin. Alex turned to her, noticing the subtle shift in her posture, the faint ripple in the light along her skin. The galaxy does not always wait for preparation. Threats will arrive unannounced and unpredictable. This is your test now. This was about facing the unknown, the unpredictable, and the underestimated. The sensors flickered, and a massive shadow appeared on the monitor. A fleet of alien vessels, sleek and black, moved with precision. They had detected the shuttle and were closing fast. Alex's mind raced. He knew immediately that these were not ordinary patrols. They were observers, aggressors, and perhaps executioners, and they had no intention of negotiation. "Calm," the gift said, sensing his tension. "Do not act rashly. Observation first, understanding before engagement. Humans are underestimated because they do not fit patterns. Use that." Every instinct screamed for evasive action, yet he knew that reaction without strategy could lead to annihilation. He studied the formation, noticing gaps, weak points, and predictable patterns in their movement. "Redirect energy to the shield generators," he said, voice steady. "Prepare evasive maneuvers, but do not engage unless necessary. Use environmental anomalies to your advantage." He tapped into every skill, every simulation, every lesson the gift had taught him. He used gravitational anomalies to shift the fleet's trajectory, deploying decoy signals that confused their targeting systems. The enemy adapted quickly, but he adapted faster, guiding the shuttle through patterns that the alien commanders could not anticipate. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of the shuttle and the soft instructions of the gift. Then came the first direct engagement. A vessel from the fleet fired a beam of energy, striking near the shuttle's hull. Sparks flew and alarms blared. Alex reacted immediately, redirecting power to shields, initiating a calculated evasive loop, and firing a countermeasure that disrupted the enemy sensors. The gift's voice remained calm. Do not let fear dictate your actions. Your species survives because it thinks even under pressure. Use insight, not impulse. The battle was not about destroying the enemy. It was about survival, observation, and demonstrating the unpredictability of humanity. Every move was calculated, yet flexible. He anticipated patterns, exploited weaknesses, and preserved the shuttle while keeping the enemy off balance. But then came a more insidious threat. A small, fast vessel broke from the formation, cloaked until the last moment. It approached the shuttle from an unexpected angle, weapons charged. Alex barely had time to react. He considered options: flee, engage, or use the environment. The gift's eyes met his, luminous and commanding. Use ingenuity, she said. Not force. Predict, anticipate, manipulate. That is why humans survive. He exhaled, feeling the weight of relief, yet knowing the challenge was far from over. The gift's gaze was on him, approving yet critical. You see, she said, strength is not always measured in weapons. It is measured in understanding, adaptability, and courage. That is why humans are underestimated. That is why they survive. The fleet regrouped, circling cautiously, unsure of how to respond. He realized that the battle was not only a physical contest, it was a test of reputation, perception, and the ability to defy expectation. The galaxy assumed humans would panic, act impulsively, or rely solely on brute force. Instead, he had demonstrated patience, insight, and moral judgment, avoiding unnecessary destruction while preserving life. The gift stepped closer, her presence almost tangible. You have demonstrated your species' potential, but the next step is understanding consequences beyond survival. Choices you make now will echo further than you imagine. He had anticipated trials of intellect and morality, but the gift's words hinted at a deeper challenge. Not only would he have to survive, he would have to act in a way that reflected humanity's best qualities, even under extreme pressure. Suddenly, the fleet launched a coordinated attack on a nearby station, an outpost that housed civilians and critical resources. Alex's pulse quickened. Every decision now carried immense weight. He could attempt direct defense, but that risked escalation. He could flee, but that would leave innocents vulnerable. The gift's gaze was steady, encouraging, but unyielding. Decide, she said softly. The galaxy expects you to fail, prove them wrong. He noticed a pattern in the enemy's approach, a predictable formation if exploited. Using the shuttle systems, he created holographic decoys, guiding the fleet toward uninhabited areas while simultaneously deploying emergency defenses for the station. He coordinated remotely with station personnel, guiding evacuations, stabilizing structures, and neutralizing hazards without direct confrontation. The battle raged for hours, yet Alex's strategy held. Civilians were safe, the station sustained minimal damage, and the enemy fleet struggled against tactics it had not anticipated. Every move was a combination of human insight, patience, and ethical decision-making, the very qualities the galaxy underestimated. Finally, the fleet retreated, wary of the human who defied expectation. Alex slumped back in his seat, exhausted but exhilarated. The gift moved beside him, her luminous eyes reflecting pride and recognition. You have done more than survive, she said. You have demonstrated why humans cannot be dismissed. You have shown creativity, morality, and courage. That is what makes your species remarkable. Yet he had succeeded not through force, not through aggression, but through insight, adaptability, and humanity. The gift's expression softened. The galaxy will watch. They will note your choices, your strategies, your restraint. They will begin to see what humans truly are, not merely survivors, but thinkers, moral actors, and unpredictable forces. That is your advantage. That is why your species endures. He realized that humanity's true strength lay not in technology or weapons, but in the ability to understand, adapt, and act ethically under pressure, a combination no other civilization could predict. The shuttle drifted quietly, the stars stretching endlessly beyond the viewport. The gift stood beside him, calm yet commanding. Remember this, human. Strength is not measured by firepower or fleets. It is measured by insight, morality, and courage. That is why humans are underestimated. That is why they survive. It will test not only strategy and morality, but trust, loyalty, and the ability to act when all outcomes are uncertain. Prepare yourself, human. The galaxy awaits, and so do I. The galaxy had underestimated humans repeatedly, assuming predictability where there was ingenuity, recklessness where there was patience, weakness where there was adaptability. And through it all, he had proven, through action and insight, that humans were more than capable of surviving and thriving against impossible odds. For the first time, Alex understood the full weight of the gift's opening words. "I was a gift, human, why haven't you touched me yet?" It was not about possession, nor was it about immediate action. It was about understanding, judgment, morality, and the courage to act wisely under circumstances no one could predict. Alex felt a surge of determination. The trials had been immense, but they had only revealed the beginning of humanity's potential. The gift was not merely a test. It was a mirror, reflecting what humans were capable of and what they could achieve when intelligence, morality, and courage were combined. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport. The galaxy watched, unprepared for the ingenuity, insight, and resilience that humans had displayed. And somewhere within the vastness of space, the gift waited patiently, ready to guide, challenge, and reveal the final truth about humanity's worth in a universe that had long underestimated them. Alex leaned back, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the distant stars. He felt ready. The final trial was coming, and when it arrived, humans would prove that their strength was not in what the galaxy expected, but in what the galaxy had never imagined. The shuttle floated silently above a cluster of stars, the endless darkness of space stretching in every direction. Alex sat in the cockpit, his hands resting lightly on the controls, yet his mind was alert. The trials had tested every part of him: intellect, morality, patience, judgment, and courage. But now he sensed that the final trial was imminent. The gift stood beside him, her presence calm, luminous, and commanding. "This will be the last challenge, human," she said softly. "It will test everything you have learned, everything you are capable of, and everything your species represents. Success will not only define you, but it will define humanity in the eyes of the galaxy." A massive alien fleet appeared, larger than any Alex had seen before, their ships arranged in a precise formation. Their intentions were clear. They sought to capture or destroy the shuttle. The fleet's sheer size and firepower were overwhelming, yet Alex did not panic. He had faced impossible odds before, and he knew that human strength lay not in numbers or weapons, but in ingenuity, adaptability, and the ability to make moral and strategic decisions under pressure. The gift's eyes glimmered. "Remember everything, human. Insight, patience, morality, courage. The galaxy expects you to fail. Prove them wrong." The fleet's movement patterns were predictable if analyzed carefully. Using the shuttle's sensors, he identified weak points in their formation and potential environmental advantages. Nearby asteroid fields could serve as cover, gravitational anomalies could disrupt their targeting systems, and debris from smaller ships could be used as distractions. "Divide and confuse," he muttered to himself. "Distract, evade, outthink, protect." Alex used this chaos to navigate the shuttle closer to the heart of the formation, positioning himself strategically to exploit their reliance on patterns. Hours passed in tense silence. Every move was a calculated risk. One misstep could mean destruction. Yet Alex remained calm, relying on human intuition, observation, and insight. The gift watched silently, her luminous eyes reflecting a mixture of scrutiny and approval. Then the enemy shifted tactics. A massive strike force broke from the formation, closing in with blinding speed. Conventional tactics would fail against such a concentrated attack. Alex realized that survival alone was not enough. He had to demonstrate humanity's creativity and unpredictability. "Use what you have learned," the gift said softly. "Think beyond force, act beyond instinct. That is why humans endure." Using the shuttle systems, he adjusted the engines to create a controlled disruption within the nebula, drawing the enemy strike force into its depths. The plan worked. The attacking ships faltered, their targeting systems confused, and the main fleet struggled to respond. Alex took advantage of the disarray to position the shuttle closer to the enemy flagship. The gift's gaze never left him, calm but intense. "You see," she said, "strength is not always measured in weapons. It is measured in insight, adaptability, and courage. You have demonstrated that repeatedly. Now show the final truth." It was a demonstration, a statement, a message to the galaxy. Humans could not be predicted, controlled, or dismissed. They relied on thought, morality, and ingenuity. And now they would show that humanity's resilience could overcome the greatest challenges without resorting to mindless destruction. He initiated a daring maneuver, weaving the shuttle through the chaos, using the fleet's own formations against them. He exploited gaps, guided enemy ships into dead ends, and used decoys to mislead the largest vessels. The flagship, heavily shielded, attempted to pursue him, but he anticipated its moves, keeping just enough distance to avoid direct confrontation while maximizing disruption. The gift's voice broke the tense silence. "Do not hesitate, human. Make the choices that define your species." Silence filled the cabin. The threat had passed, and the galaxy, at least this portion of it, had witnessed something unexpected. A single human had survived, outmaneuvered, and outthought an overwhelming alien fleet, using insight, morality, and ingenuity rather than brute force. The gift stepped closer, her form shimmering softly. "You have done it, human. Not through weapons, not through aggression, but through the qualities that define your species. You have proven what many believed impossible. You have shown that humans are clever, resilient, and capable of facing the unknown without abandoning morality or judgment. And in passing it, you have not only demonstrated your personal capability but the potential of all humans. The galaxy watches. They will take note. Your species is no longer underestimated." The gift, once a mysterious presence and mirror of human potential, now seemed to acknowledge that humans had earned their place among the stars, not through destruction, but through intelligence, insight, and moral courage. "You understand now," she said softly, "why I spoke at the beginning, why I asked, 'I was a gift, human, why haven't you touched me yet?' It was never about action or possession. It was about understanding, patience, and the wisdom to act rightly. You have done that." The trials had been more than tests. They had been lessons, mirrors reflecting the best qualities of humanity. Insight, patience, morality, courage, and creativity, these were the tools that no other species could easily predict or counter. "And now," he asked quietly. "Now," the gift said, "you have earned trust, you have earned understanding. And you have set the stage for what humanity can achieve. The galaxy will watch with a new perspective. They will see not only your species, ingenuity, but also its ability to act with wisdom, restraint, and insight." He had faced impossible odds, survived overwhelming challenges, and demonstrated humanity's greatest strengths. And in doing so, he had changed how the galaxy would view humans, not as reckless or weak, but as intelligent, moral, and unpredictable. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, silent witnesses to the human triumph. The gift moved beside him, her luminous eyes reflecting admiration. "You have done what few could have imagined. The galaxy will remember, and humanity will no longer be underestimated. That is your legacy." And now, at last, humanity's potential had been revealed, not through destruction, not through force, but through intelligence, courage, and morality. The gift extended her hand not as a challenge, but as recognition. "You have answered the question, human. You have touched the essence of the gift, and in doing so, you have touched the potential of your species." The shuttle drifted quietly, the stars stretching infinitely beyond the viewport. Alex leaned back, feeling both exhaustion and exhilaration. The trials had tested him, refined him, and revealed the truth about humanity's capacity. The galaxy would take notice. The gift had acknowledged the achievement, and humans had proven that they could face impossible challenges without losing the best qualities that defined them. "You understand," she said softly, "that humanity's greatest strength is not technology or weaponry, but thought, insight, and moral courage. That is why you survive. That is why you endure. That is why the galaxy must respect you." The gift's luminous eyes met his one last time. "Remember this, human. You have passed every trial. You have proven the galaxy wrong. And now, humanity stands not only as survivors, but as thinkers, moral actors, and forces that cannot be ignored. That is your true gift." Humanity had been tested, measured, and proven. And as he gazed at the stars, he realized that the journey was far from over. The galaxy had been reminded of human ingenuity and potential, and humanity itself had discovered the full extent of its own strength. The shuttle drifted silently through space, carrying the human captain and the gift who had tested, guided, and reflected the best qualities of his species. And somewhere in the vastness of the galaxy, civilizations that had underestimated humans began to reconsider their assumptions. The trials were complete. The lessons had been learned. Humanity had been revealed not as weak, reckless, or predictable, but as clever, moral, and capable of achieving the impossible. And in the quiet hum of the shuttle, Alex felt the truth of the gift's first words settle fully in his mind. "I was a gift, human. Why haven't you touched me yet?" It had never been about possession or control. It had been about understanding, courage, morality, and insight, the very qualities that made humans extraordinary. Alex looked at the stars and smiled. Humanity had been tested. Humanity had endured. Humanity had triumphed, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again.